The most recent Nintendo Direct was amazing. We got not one, but two of the most requested games that we've been requesting for the past 5 years. We got Luigi's Mansion and Animal Crossing, and best of all, they're slated for 2019 release. So that's pretty awesome. And then you have Smash Ultimate coming at the end of the year. Nintendo could do no wrong, or so you think. Basically, Nintendo fans have been waiting for one thing that has been delayed over the past year and a half, and that's the Nintendo online service for the Nintendo Switch. Now we have to pay $20 a year for a service that not a lot of people think that it's a really good deal. So let's kind of break it down and see if this is something that you should invest your money into. So when you break it down, the Nintendo Online service for the Nintendo Switch has three basic components. You have the online play to play against each other online for regular games. Then you have cloud saves, which allow you to back up your save data. And then you have NES titles for now to play at your leisure. There's about 30 games available at launch, and with more to follow. So for $20 a year, that sounds like a pretty good deal until you actually break it down. Now, the online service, we'll go over that first. Basically, there's not too much changing from the service that we've already been using for free. You still have to use the mobile app if you want to talk to your friends online, and there just doesn't seem to be any noticeable enhancements available, and now we have to pay for it. So it's kind of disappointing, but I don't use online, and basically for me that doesn't seem like too big of a stretch, but you're still paying for a service that you used to get for free. So even though I don't use the service myself, I can understand why other people are upset. Now let's talk about the NES games that we'll be getting. Now this is the reason why I decided that I will be paying for the service. $20 a year and I can play NES games on my Switch with more games to follow. I mean, that's a pretty good deal on its own. Yeah, sure, I do have a library of games behind me, but it still is kind of a nice little convenience factor to play. One of the things that really sealed the deal for me is the two NES controller style Joy-Cons that are available so that I can play NES games wirelessly on an official NES controller. Now, that's a really cool item for me, but I do really wish that Nintendo didn't lock it behind the online service, and also you have to buy it from their site. I would much rather them go through Best Buy or GameStop and have it bundled with the online service. I mean, sure, the controllers only work with the NES games supposedly, which again, that's kind of a weird thing to do. You're spending $60 for two controllers that will only work with the NES games. When the Super Nintendo games come out, or the N64 GameCube, then you'll need to buy an extra controller if you want to. Of course, the controllers are optional, so it's not really that big of a deal, but I am worried that these things are going to be scalped like there's no tomorrow, and they're going to be going for $100+ until Nintendo decides to make more. But the biggest setback of these Nintendo games is the fact that you need to check in every 7 days in order to keep the service running. Basically, if you decide to go off on vacation where there's no internet access, you can only play those games offline for 7 days before they lock out. Now, there was some ramblings from RGT85 who said that the games would be deleted, but I haven't been able to find anything on that. Like, the website FAQ seems to be very clear that you will need an internet connection to validate that these games are legit. I do think that they should have gone at least 30 days, especially if I'm paying for the full year. I mean, it seems kind of counterintuitive to always be checking in. I mean, it's not really going to be, again, not too big of a deal for me because I'm always connected, but for somebody who decides that they want to go out of the country for a week where there's not a lot of internet service or something like that, can run into some problems, and it's going to be very inconvenient when they have to revalidate that service. And the third feature of Nintendo Switch Online is cloud saves. Up until now, we hadn't had a proper method of backing up our saves. We couldn't even back them up to the SD card, so if you lost your Switch or your Switch got broken, those 100 hours of Breath of the Wild, they were gone for good. So the cloud saves aims to essentially remedy that. But the problem is that the saves don't apply to all of the games. Games like FIFA and Splatoon 2 don't have cloud saves, and Nintendo says it's due to cheating, but then you look at games like Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and those don't have cloud saves because apparently there's a Nintendo Pokédex online service that you can save that to. So that's another service that you're going to have to pay if you decide to get those specific games. But the biggest feature of all is that if you decide that you don't want this service anymore, you no longer have access to your cloud saves, which kind of makes sense. But when you think of the grand scheme of things, like if your credit card gets declined or something like that, then you lose all that save data. And Nintendo really hasn't clarified whether or not that those cloud saves will be deleted or they'll just be dormant until you re-up the service. And here's what it says from the FAQ on the site. Save data stored with Save Data Cloud cannot be kept outside of the duration of your Nintendo Switch Online membership. Nintendo Entertainment System Nintendo Switch Online also uses that Save Data Cloud, so the same applies. However, if you keep the Nintendo Entertainment System Nintendo Switch Online save data saved locally on your Nintendo Switch console, then you will use it again if you purchase another membership. So it's still kind of confusing. What happens if I decide that I don't want the online service anymore? I know that I don't get access to these Nintendo games, but does that mean that my cloud save of Breath of the Wild is now gone too? I still don't know. There's a lot of questions left unanswered here, and the Switch Online service is going to be up when this video is posted, so we still don't know. But if you consider all of these services together, then $20 a year, it's an amazing deal. But when you break them all down, you find out that all of these services are mutually exclusive. I really have a hard time believing that a person buying this service for NES games is going to be playing Super Smash Bros. Online a lot or using cloud save data or anything like that. The cloud save data is just an background thing that nobody will ever think about. And so when you think about it that way and you buy just for the online $20 a year, it's kind of a bad deal. $20 a year for cloud save data, that's a really bad deal. But the real good deal seems to be that the NES games available and more games to be added onto it. So like if next year they have 50 to 100 games, $20 a year is a really good deal. But if you're only using it for online or cloud saves, that's when the deal gets kind of salty, and I can understand why people are upset. And personally, I'm not really surprised that Nintendo has dropped the ball on this Nintendo Online service. Given Nintendo's history of always being 1 to 2 steps behind its competitors, I didn't really expect anything groundbreaking from this online service. All I knew that it was going to be $20, and I kind of was like, well, as long as it works, I guess I'm okay with it. We still use friend codes to connect online. Like, we still use friend codes. What do you think? Do you plan on getting Nintendo's online service? If not, what would make you buy that service? Would you pay $40 a year knowing that it was fully robust with voice features? Or are you okay with the $20? Let me know in the comments below what you think, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, consider subscribing for modern and retro video game content. I'm Super Nintendo, and thanks for watching.